members here with us today, including Joe Burke, Lonnie Jenkins, Councilman Beatrice. The mayor is here along with Marcus Phillips. I expect Mike Mahoney also to be joining us momentarily, but we have enough to begin the meeting. Shoot. Hang on just for a second. Hey, Mike. Okay, can you call in? There was call-in information at the on the email. Oh. Speaker? Yeah, actually, I just put him on speaker with his phone, right? Okay, I'm going to put you on speaker now. Right now. Okay. Mike, can you hear us? Okay. Mike Mahoney, another board member, is also joining by phone. So we'll call this meeting to order, the Urban Renewal Agency, for April 8th, 2021 at 9:36. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agency minutes from the March 25th meeting.
Motion.
Motion by Marcus to approve. Is there a second?
Councilman Beatrice.
Councilman Beatrice seconds. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding the agency's possible use
Your voice went out.
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Can't hear you, Brian.
Because that thing is set up.
No, I don't think so.
There you go.
There you
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to take this off. This morning's public hearing focuses on the possible acquisition through condemnation of 6 individual tax parcels by the Utica Urban Renewal Agency, to be referred to as UURA hereon. The parcels are all located within the project area for the Mohawk Valley Health System's Wynn Hospital in the city of Utica. The parcels have been identified as Oneida County Tax Map ID number 318.33-3-11, commonly referred to as 500-504 Columbia Street, owned by 500 Columbia Street LLC. Oneida County Tax Map ID number 318.41-2-38, commonly referred to as 411 Columbia Street, owned by J.P. O'Brien Plumbing and Heating Supply, Incorporated. And Oneida County Tax Map ID numbers 318.33-3-15, 318.33-3-16, 318.33-3-18, and 318.33-3-19. All commonly referred to as 502-506 and 402 State Street and 510-512 and 508 Lafayette Street, owned by Michael J. Margeri and Thomas V. Margeri. In light of the growing demand for healthcare, the UURA has determined that the construction and development of a new state-of-the-art hospital facility and related infrastructure, including parking facilities, also known as the project, within the city of Utica will provide substantial benefit to and be in the best interest of the public. The 500 Columbia parcel, the J.P. O'Brien parcel, and the Margeri parcels, collectively referred to as the parcels, are within the project area, and UURA is desirous of acquiring the parcels in furtherance of the project and UURA's statutory purposes. UURA has attempted to acquire the parcels through negotiation by offering the fair market value of the property as determined by a third-party appraisal. UURA now wishes to evaluate and examine the acquisition by eminent domain of those parcels. The UURA is contemplating its use of condemnation as a method of acquisition in order to advance its public purposes for the property. Such action is in support of one of the UURA's 3 mission statement objectives: to foster private investment in neighborhoods for commercial and residential uses through selective acquisition and sale of property. At this juncture, it is important to note that the UURA has made every effort to attempt to acquire the parcels in question through negotiation and to avoid the use of its powers of eminent domain. To that end, the UURA commissioned appraisals of all of the parcels in question Based on those appraisals, the agency made written offers to the current owners of record, each of which were asked to respond to said offers if interested in accepting. No such responses were received by UURA staff. Additionally, in furtherance of the UURA's attempt to acquire the parcels through condemnation, the agency has complied with the state's eminent domain procedure law, also known as EDPL, the state's Environmental Quality Review Act, also known as SEEKR, and with the New York General Municipal Law. A DEIS and FEIS was prepared for this Type 1 action by the City of Utica Planning Board as lead agency, and a copy of the documents can be found on the city's website. The DEIS and FEIS found that the project is in a blighted area of the city. Additionally, the parcels are located within a federally designated historically underutilized business or hub zone. It is the intent of the UURA to now open the public hearing and take public comment relative to the UURA's desire to acquire the aforementioned 6 parcels of land through condemnation. All speakers are asked to state their names. Please keep comments to no more than 5 minutes in length. And as a reminder, this is a public hearing to accept public comments. As such, any questions will not receive a response from UURA staff or board members. Yes. I am now. With that, I ask for a motion from the board to open the public hearing.
I make a motion.
Motion by Mike Mahoney to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
I'll second
Glenn
it.
Jenkins.
Seconded by Joe Burke. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. With that motion approved, I call on the first speaker.
I'll go first.
Your name, sir?
Thomas Mowajeri.
Okay.
Okay. Let me state, first of all, that we've been in the city, our family's had businesses in the city since 1928. We've always supported anything the city wanted to do. We've been in full support of whoever was in Republican, Democrat, Conservative, no matter who it was, as long as it was for the benefit of the city. And I still hold that point valid. We have never, ever opposed the selling of our property. So I can't see eminent domain being utilized to acquire our property. We've been in negotiations with the hospital. We've never had any negotiation with the city. We received a letter with what we considered a ridiculously low offer. It wouldn't even start to have our business moved, whether it was in the city or out of the city. When we started this portion of our business, we wanted to start it on Albany Street near our present facility, which has been there since 1928. We were told that our area is going to be targeted for historic residential area, which at the time I thought was not possible, and through the years we've seen it's not possible. Okay. So we were told they would like to have us go to the Empire Zone. That's what it was called, and probably most of you weren't even on the board when that happened. We said, okay, we'll find a location down there, and we acquired a location, went to the Empire Zone. We were promised lower taxes. We made a whole bunch of promises that I took with a grain of salt because they didn't come true. But anyways, we were happy. The city was happy. Everybody was happy. Now, for us to move our facility is going to be a lot more than what an acquired property is going to be. A lot more what the city offered. Never has anybody given me the courtesy of coming and talking to me. They send me an arbitrary letter with a ridiculously low offer, which I did respond to. You said nobody responded. I did respond with a phone call, and that was the last I heard of it. We've reached out to the hospital. when this first hit us, yeah, I mean, this is our livelihood. This is our retirement. The city is taking out my plan for the future. They're taking away my quote unquote to say my 401k. It would be like somebody telling you, well, look, you no longer have a retirement set up with the state or the state. You got to go out and start all over. Well, that's what they're doing to me, and they're giving me Tibbins to do it. I'm willing to negotiate. I'm willing to do this so that eminent domain doesn't put a black mark on the city, doesn't put a black mark on us. Let it. Again, I say we've never not wanted to negotiate. I don't feel it's right for somebody to come and say, hey, look, we need your house for whatever. So we're going to take an eminent domain and we're giving you this much. Well, for me to replace my house, it's going to be $300,000, $400,000. Well, we're going to give you $70,000 because that's what somebody said it was worth. Now I can go out and get appraisals, and I could probably find somebody to come in and appraise it for 1.5 million if I wanted. Would it be a true evaluation? Probably not. But I don't feel yours. What the city said that it was valued at is true and proper. Also, I did some investigating and some looking into it, and an eminent domain appraisal is different than a purchase appraisal. An eminent domain appraisal, if followed by the law and if really researched and pressed, goes to the potential best use of the property. That being said, they're saying they said they wanted to put a parking garage, then it was going to be a parking lot, then it was going to be a park. But I don't know, and it shouldn't concern me. I don't care if they buy my property and put dumpsters on it. That's up to the person purchasing it if and when we come to an agreement. If it goes into eminent domain, the new evaluation will be on what the future best use of that property is. In other words, if the city said they want to put a parking lot there, fine. But eminent domain, if it's really looked into really hard, goes into, they're using it for a parking garage, or they're using it for a parking lot, or they're using it to put dumpsters on. It potentially could be a 5-story professional building. I don't care what they do with it if they come to me with a reasonable offer. I don't care if they put a parking garage on it. I don't care if they put $100,000 or $1 million or $5 million professional office building on it. That doesn't concern me once I agree to sell it. But if it comes into eminent domain, that's a path that we're going to have to look into. And I don't know who determines it. I really don't. You know what I mean? And that's the path. Unless we can negotiate a fair purchase offer for our property, that's the route we're going to have to take, and it just gets expensive for everybody. And I don't want that. I don't want my name in the paper saying that I'm making it look like I'm fighting the benefit of the city. I don't want that, and I'm sure you don't want it in the paper saying that you're trying to pay somebody pennies on the dollar to take their property for a quote unquote parking lot or park. And that's about all I have to say. We've never refused to negotiate. We don't want to stop negotiating. We just want to sit down face to face with somebody negotiate and put this behind us, and we can go on with our lives. And
Thank you, Mr. Margieri.
hey,
Is there another person wishing to speak?
Well, I'm a concerned relative, obviously.
Okay, and your name, sir?
It's Thomas Malgeri as well.
Okay.
But I think what my cousin is trying to say is that there's a potential long-term benefit of that property that he's willing to consider as a negotiated price, not a purchase price. And today, I don't think you can determine exactly what that might be. It might be like a 3-story or 5-story professional building. You don't know that. But I think he's willing to consider something more than what you had on the table as a purchase price, with the expectation that it's a walk-away price, and then you can do whatever you want with it. And if there's a value of $5 million or $10 million later on, 3 years from now, he doesn't want to be compensated for that. I think he wants to be compensated for a fair value, taking a guess what the future might bring. And everybody walks away, and I bet you he would waive any right to consider any future action. Am I saying that right, Tom?
yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I felt it was appropriate.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Again, any,
So I was trying to get it, and the phone number doesn't work. But I tried it and the second.
I'll just say one thing. I was in contact with the hospital who was in charge with Mr. Schofield, Bob Schofield, a little over a week ago, and he said he would talk to somebody and get back to me. Once again, I never got a reply. So I mean, you gotta understand my point. I feel like I'm being a little bit, the old saying is hoodwinked. I'm always available. Nobody's ever reached out for a real conversation, whether it's, I don't know, hiding behind a screen or whatever, just pushing this eminent domain. I don't know. And I just feel like after all our loyalty to the city, I just feel like we're not getting a fair shake. And if that's the way this plays out, I'm not going to be silent about it, and that's it.
I think the real question is where do you go from here?
are there any other speakers on the WebEx that wish to speak? We have another person that's expressed an interest in speaking that wasn't able to get into the WebEx, so we're going to put them on the phone as well.
On speakerphone so that you can participate in public hearing. Okay? Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, how are you guys this time?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Your name for the record?
Michael Cancilla.
Okay, do you want to make your comments? Try and keep it to about 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, the comments really short. First of all, the location 500-504 Columbia Street. It's it's slated to be overflow parking. It's not in the footprint of the hospital. I don't consider it a central part of the hospital. And the city of Utica, Renewal, and the hospital is not taking the coalition building next door to mine. So I don't think it would affect the project overall. Second of all, my second point is just that I don't believe my position is Utica Urban Renewal or the city of Utica does not have the authority to use eminent domain to take private property from a taxpayer to give it to another private property taxpayer. I understand the public, but I don't believe that the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals reports that to be the case in this case. So those are just the only two things I want to put on the record in the public comment, and that's it.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Guys, have a great day.
You too. I'll ask one last time if there's any other speakers wishing to make a comment on this subject. If there's no other speakers, I'd entertain a motion from the board to close the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mike Mahoney. Is there a second?
I'll second Lonnie.
Seconded by Lonnie Jenkins. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion is carried. This public hearing is now closed. I'd ask Kate or maybe Chris McDonald from Whiteman, Osterman, and Hannah, the agency's outside legal counsel, just to explain the next process.
Go ahead, Chris.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Chris McDonald. I'm an attorney with Whiteman, Osterman, and Hannah. Basically, the next step will be for the UURA to consider and deliberate on the exercise of eminent domain, and if it's going to move forward, to issue what's called the determination and findings under Article 2 of the EDPL. That will need to be done within 90 days of today's date. And basically, all that is determining whether or not there is a valid public purpose and, for the authorized use of eminent domain to take these various parcels. I'm not going to get into compensation or anything like that in this next step.
Any questions from the board for Chris about the next step? Again, as Chris mentioned, the board has 90 days to issue its determination and findings. We're not looking to take that step at this meeting. But we will likely within the next 90 days.
Chris, I do have a question. It's the mayor.
Sure.
During this
How are you?
duration, MVHS still has the ability to negotiate with these parties, correct?
Absolutely. And quite frankly, even after the determination and findings are issued, people will retain the ability to negotiate, right up until the time that we take title. This is a little outside of the question, but there is a process involved. The issuance of the determination and findings does not constitute the event that vests title in UURA or the city. There are still other litigation procedures that we would have to go through before ownership changes hands. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with people, and I would encourage people to continue to have discussions, while all that stuff is pending.
Thank you.
Chris, this is Councilman Beatrice. I just want to ask one question. Basically, what we are talking about today is, if there is no settlements down the road, do we have the right to exercise eminent domain? Correct?
For right now, the portion of the process that we're in is really just determining whether or not there is a public purpose. And as I'm sure you're aware, this project has been the subject of considerable municipal review. There was a reference early in the meeting to the EISs and the secret review process. And I think, borrowing liberally from that, there's clearly a public purpose here if you are inclined to do it. And that's really the litmus test for whether or not UURA is authorized In addition to that, as Mr. Thomas noted, those EIS documents do say that these properties are located within blighted areas and a federal historically underutilized business area. And so that would certainly support the exercise of UURA's eminent domain powers, as that's, directly tied to their purpose.
Thank you.
Chris is an interested party. Would a weight factor?
Again, Mr. Margeri, this really was just a public hearing,
Okay.
and now that the public hearing has been closed, again, the next step is for the board to issue its determination of findings within the next 90 days.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Mr. Margeri, I would just say, if you have legal questions about this process, I would encourage you to get your own independent legal counsel.
All right.
With that, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is transfer of developer status for 400 Rutgers Street.
Okay, I'm the plumber.
She's proposing to purchase. This is a property that the Urban Renewal Agency had sold to the Van Slykes, I believe. They have not completed the project as they had originally proposed. And as is now, as has been standard protocol,
Yes.
when a project has not been completed, but there is a person interested in purchasing the property, the agency has the ability to transfer the property, and the new owner will be expected to complete what the previous owner had committed to in their application. Marima Smajic is, for transparency purposes, is the city employee. However, she owns the property across the street and is interested in purchasing this property, and is looking for the agency's approval to do so. Marima, did you want to touch on what you're looking to do with the property?
Yes, so like Ryan said, this property is right across the street from me. I had bought my property 401 Rutger from Urban Renewal in 2015. I had done everything I said I was going to do to it. You guys removed that lien or reverter off of it. A year later, this property, 400 Rutger Street, again across the street from me, came up for sale by Urban. At that point, I didn't have the funds. I was still kind of nervous. I hadn't done that big of a project repair-wise, so I didn't sit on it. These current owners did. They got the bid. I went and looked at the property. They did do some work. I'm going to completely rehab it. Currently 4 units in there now. It's out to them. They want to sell it to me. I've applied for a home equity loan with the amount of $80,000. That'll get me through the purchase price with them and to rehab. I also provided Urban my funds. I have $20,000 in cash. I have credit cards, $10,000. They did fix the roof. That was a big issue when Urban was selling it in 2016. Currently, there are some people living in it. I evacuate everyone. Like I said, I redo everything up to kind of my standards. Just so people who don't really know me on the board, I also purchased property, again, very close to where I live, 345, 347 South Street. That was a private sale, had nothing to do with the city or Urban. And I completely rehabbed that as well, put a new roof on it, everything new, drywall, wiring, plumbing. I got all the necessary permits for that as well. Codes has approved it. There's going to be a new butcher shop opening up in that area on the first floor. So I've become quite confident in my ability as to what I can do with these properties. Again, this property isn't as bad now. Back in 2016, I didn't have the courage, I guess, to bid on it. And now that the opportunity has presented itself, I'd love to buy it from these people. They're willing to. And their attorney, Francis Blazer, has informed me. And I looked at myself, too, about this reverter with the city. And I am more than willing to take it on because I know I'm going to do everything that I'm supposed to. And I know where I work. I'll get all the proper permits. And codes, I think, is done in there so they kind of know what it looks like now. And I'm going to completely transform it. I'm going to leave it as a 4-unit. These people currently have kind of a 5th apartment in the attic. Nobody's living there. From what I gather from codes and fire department, that apartment is not legal because there's no sprinkler system. I'm not going to mess around with that. I'm going to leave it as a 4-unit. And just update the flooring, update the walls, update the kitchen, make it look really nice. The common hallway there. And I really want it mainly because the area, I mean, it's right across the street from me. That way I can keep an eye on it. And I think I can bring that area back to life, just like I did with the South and Dudley property. So,
Any questions from the board for Marima? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. I'm
I
sorry.
second that.
To Sale, seconded by Councilman Beatrice to approve the transfer. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Well, I was thinking about it.
yeah, I didn't hear what you said.
She didn't hear you.
The mayor's still thinking about it.
She should be my biggest fan.
Should be.
Despite the mayor's objection, the motion is carried.
Marima will do a nice job.
Thank you.
Rima, I just ask that once the transfer goes through, you provide us a copy of that deed to show that the official transfer was done.
Yes, I will provide you with everything.
Thank you.
Everything you ask for, I'll get you. Yeah, no problem.
No other business before the board. I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
By
I
Marcus,
second that.
second by Councilman Beatrice. Meeting is adjourned at 10:06. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brian.
Have a good day.
Take it easy.
You too.